It is 10:03. Good morning. I'm Lucas Panzica. 16th ranked Tennessee improved to 19-6 on Tuesday with a 76-63 win over the 4th ranked Kentucky Wildcats to seal the Vols' 8th straight SEC victory. Tennessee led by 14 at halftime and never trailed in the second half.
Chandler gets it to Fulkerson, top of the key. Drives on Sheboy, spins with the left hand and puts it in. Talk to me, Folky. Fulkerson on a nice spinning move against Sheboy.
That is Bob Kesling and Burt Bertelkamp of the Vol Network. You can hear Bob Kesling coming up on the Buck Reising Show in about 15 minutes. 4 Vols scored in double figures. Santiago Vescovi led with 18. John Fulkerson with 14 points and 8 rebounds off the bench. Drops Kentucky to 21-5, and it ends a 6-game win streak for the Cats. Tennessee now 10-3 in SEC play. They will travel to Arkansas on Saturday. Elsewhere in college hoops, number 9 Duke escaped Wake Forest at home with the 76-74 win in the final second. Mike Krzyzewski did not coach in the second half due to illness as assistant John Shire took over. The Preds' post-All-Star break slump continued on Tuesday with the 4-1 loss to the Washington Capitals as the franchise welcomed back former coach Peter Laviolette. It's the 3rd straight loss for the Preds, who have fallen to 4th in the Central Division. They will travel to the Carolina Hurricanes on Friday. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once and your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Welcome in on this Wednesday morning. Buck Reising here with you until 1 o'clock. Welcome into the show. Happy to have you guys along for the next 3 hours. We got Lucas Panzica making it happen. We're going to have Bob Kesling, the voice of the Vols, coming up next, as a matter of fact. Because if you are a Vols fan, it is Victory Wednesday? ? Feels pretty good anytime you can absolutely just crush the Kentucky Wildcats, especially given the fact that when you played them last night, they were a top 5 team, number 4 in the country. Tennessee over Kentucky last night at Thompson Bowling Arena. A fantastically played game by the Vols, 76-63. We are going to talk about it throughout the course of the morning. We got some Titans stuff for you as well in the dumbest thing in sports later on. Plenty of time to get to all of the great content throughout the course of the show today. But this is the big takeaway, right? Now, because now you've got 8 consecutive SEC wins for the Tennessee Volunteers. They've not lost since they were at Rupp Arena when they got railroaded by that Wildcats team that they, clearly were embarrassed by. Came back, hosted them last night, shut them down. Turnovers all over the place for Kentucky. Zakai Ziegler he's been one of the biggest stories of this men's basketball season, and he continues to provide a certain kind of spark for this offense that really seems to have leveled out. The Vols seem balanced as a basketball team after, I think all of us had a fair amount of concerns to start the year. You're playing some difficult opponents. You have losses on your schedule like Texas Tech that you're not outright mad about, but you kind of look at side-eye and say, okay, there are clear and obvious deficiencies that this team needs to improve on. And the environment last night with Vols fans was outstanding. Rick Barnes, of course, the head coach of the Tennessee Volunteers, was talking about the atmosphere in Knoxville last night, an 8 p.m. Central Time tip-off. Not ideal, but anyway, Vols fans brought it.
I think our fans were ready from the get-go. I was, before I ever came out tonight, the coach was on, boy, it's electric out there. And you expect it to be. It's one of the great rivalries in college basketball. You expect it. We expect it when we go up there. I know they expect it coming in here, but even when you're up, we talked about it at halftime. The last time we won at Rupp Arena, we were down 16 with not much to play, and we were able to come back, and we have so much respect for them that, hey, you got to keep playing. And because we knew they would make a run at some point in time, and they did, and then we answered it. And but again, this building, I don't. Again, I'm partial, but I think it's the best. I mean, everybody talks about the blue bloods. I mean, the orange bloods are right there, and our fans. And it's been. I mean, tonight it was special, but there's been a lot of games this year where our fans have just been spectacular, and our players feed off of it. There's no question about that. Absolutely, they love it. They appreciate the support that we get here.
Put it on the poll, Lucas. Better saying blue bloods or orange bloods. I don't know if that quite flows the same.
Why is blue bloods a thing?
It's a great, look it up on Urban Dictionary and you'll read us the definition later. You played yourself. You blew it.
No, I'm curious about this.
All right. We'll look it up on Urban Dictionary and you'll read that for us later. 615-737-1045. Ron Slay is in the Zone TV chat, just peppering us with orange emojis. And I think that you can be impressed by a lot about this Tennessee team because you would say, all right, it's one win, but it is a consequential win. It's the first win over a top 5 team since 2019 for this Vols program. And I heard Jimmy Dykes on the broadcast last night say something that it kind of floored me because Vols fans hold Grant Williams in such high esteem, right? Those were one of the best times as far as appreciating a basketball team, appreciating a culture, a core group of players that were able to elevate you, maybe didn't make as far of a tournament run as you would have liked, but still gave you a lot of joy throughout the course of a basketball season. And Jimmy Dykes got on ESPN last night, and this is in the first half of the game. This is before Tennessee would end up closing out, a rout. They routed Kentucky. They routed the number 4 team in the country last night. And what Jimmy Dykes said of Zakai Ziegler is that he's the Grant Williams of this program. And that made me take a step back for a second. Because those are very, very highly regarded teams. It takes a lot, it feels like. The whole cliche about Tennessee, I give my all for Tennessee. Vols fans are automatically going to support you like crazy because it's one of the most passionate fan bases in the country, primarily for football, yes, but they support, the vast majority of their teams that way, whether it be baseball, women's basketball, whatever. But for Jimmy Dykes to say that on ESPN last night, that kind of hits different. Does this team, this current Tennessee team, have the kind of 2018, 2019 vibe to it that really made you, it felt like that was one of the points where Tennessee basketball under Rick Barnes was really reinvigorating the fan base? Or is that a mischaracterization by me, Lucas? I don't want to be hyperbolic about that, but that's really what that line made me feel like. Like, okay, you're comparing them to one of the most fun teams that this program has had, one of the most beloved teams that this program has had, and certainly in that particular player when you mention the name of Grant Williams.
Well, it's certainly the most fun team since Grant Williams, or Grant Williams was only there 2 years ago, right? So we're not reaching that far back. But
but I'm still, in terms of how they're regarded, right?
Yeah, no, certainly, because I think this team has found a way to maybe fill some deficiencies that you bring up, like the Texas Tech game along the course of the season, like the emergence of Jonas Idu, who is probably this team's best rim protector since Kyle Alexander, and he's certainly a whole lot better than Kyle Alexander was when he was a freshman. Idu only being a freshman, starting to come into the fold. So, yeah, I think because they're starting to emerge and being able to respond to what some of their weaknesses were, at least on offense earlier in the season, that's giving people reason for excitement. And this series with Kentucky reminds me a lot of that 18-19 series when Tennessee went up there, got whooped in Lexington, came back down to Knoxville about a month later, and did the same to the Cats. And it'll be interesting to see if they meet again in the SEC tournament. I hope they do.
Bob Kesling, voice of the Vols. He was, of course, on the call right here on 104.5 The Zone, your home for the Vols Network. We're going to talk about this game with Bob coming up next.
Hey, Rocket, what's my mortgage rate? Rocket, when am I closing? Is anyone there? Rockets are really cool, but they don't speak mortgage. You need a home loan expert for that. Get pre-approved for your next mortgage at thehomeloanexpert.com.
Chandler will come across the line. He'll just dribble the clock out, and now Tennessee is going to savor the last 10 seconds of this big win over the Kentucky Wildcats. Final score from Thompson Bowling Arena, Tennessee 76 and Kentucky 63.
That's the voice of the Vols. That's Bob Kesling. Bob's going to be here with us in just a moment. Of course, Bob and Bert Bertelkamp on the Vol Network right here on 104.5 The Zone. A massive win over the Wildcats. Now Tennessee and Kentucky have the same conference record in the SEC. Number 2, Auburn, ahead on the schedule for the Vols. As a matter of fact, this is what the remainder of Tennessee's schedule looks like. Of course, you're at Arkansas coming up this weekend. You are at Missouri, hosting Auburn, who is at present the number 2 team in the country, at Georgia, and then finishing at Thompson Bowling Arena with Arkansas. Lucas, we asked you to look up the definition of blue blood for another Urban Dictionary reading. What is the definition of blue blood according to Urban Dictionary?
Blue blood, from the medieval European belief that royalty and nobility had blue blood. The elite had enough power and wealth that they could afford to have peasants and the urban poor do their dirty work for them. Since the aristocrats were able to stay inside and avoid long hours in the fields and in the sunlight, they were often so pale that their blue veins showed under their translucent skin, thus leading people to believe that their blood was blue.
Goodness, that's quite detailed.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Isn't there something to do with, like, when the blood gets oxidized, it changes from blue to red? These are scientific matters that are far beyond my understanding, but very good. Another reading from Urban Dictionary. 615-737-1045. You can jump in if you like. I want to talk about a couple of things with Bob about this particular Tennessee team because I'm not sure what their record is going to end up being over the next 5 games. All I know is that they are well equipped to finish at this point with probably a 3 or a 4 seed as we get closer and closer to tournament time. You're not going to catch Auburn for the regular season title. They're currently 11-1 in conference, 23-2 overall this season as currently the number 2 team in the country. That's unrealistic, but this Tennessee team is going to be able to make some noise, and I think the way that they're doing it, now that you have a more balanced approach both offensively and defensively, it makes you feel a lot better about where Rick Barnes has this team. Kind of looking at the box score and what they were able to do, how they were able to handle themselves last night, there's really not a category statistically that they were worse than the Wildcats. I don't know. Surprised is probably the wrong way to phrase that, but I thought that the way that Tennessee handled themselves, I thought you could tell that this was a team that got embarrassed not too long ago. Bob Kesling joins us now, voice of the Vols. Vol Network, of course, you can hear him right here on 104.5 The Zone. Good morning, Bob. Uh-oh. Doesn't sound like Bob's got a great phone line. You want to call him back, Lucas, and make sure we got him? In the meantime, we can take some calls. 615-737-1045 is the number if you want to jump in. Yeah, Tennessee hit 44.4% of their field goals last night. They were efficient from 3, shooting 47%. Free throws really made the difference for both teams, honestly, to try and keep this thing competitive. Wayne in Dixon is up first on 104.5 The Zone. Good morning, Wayne.
Hey, what do you got, man? Good to talk to you. Finally get on your show. I've been on the J. Martin Ramon in the morning, but I haven't been able to get on yours. I was really proud the other day when you finally came to your frickin' senses about Ryan Tannehill not being the guy.
Well,
thank you. You finally came to your senses.
Thank you for the call, Wayne. Wayne doesn't want to talk about the Vols. Wayne wants to talk about Ryan Tannehill. But I want to talk basketball. So Bob Kesling, voice of the Vols, joins us now. Good morning, Bob.
Good morning. How are you?
Man, I'm doing great. I thoroughly enjoyed the way that the Tennessee team handled themselves last night against the number 4 Kentucky Wildcats. Bob, surprised again is probably the wrong word, but I thought that this Tennessee team clearly showed how much how far that they had come since suffering their last SEC loss to, in fact, the Kentucky Wildcats.
Yeah, you look back at that game and you look at the stats and you look at the turnovers and you look at the fact that Chandler and Ziegler didn't play that well. Maybe that stage was a little bit just too big for them at that time of the season. Now they've matured, they've grown, they've gone on the road, they've won games, they've got confidence, they're playing with great tempo on offense and defense. And I just think last night they took the basketball. They played really well on defense. They really shut down Kentucky. So I think this team has really grown from that first Kentucky game, which, we all know was a tough night, and they just didn't play well. But they sure played well last night.
Is there any one player, Bob, more emblematic of that growth than Zakai Ziegler?
No. He's one of the most amazing stories that you could ever have in college basketball. He's a guy that, was up in the Bronx. He was having to ride a train 2 hours to and from school every single day. Some day he didn't have money to get on the train, rooms and all that kind of stuff, and just played all the time on the playgrounds. He's supposed to be in high school right now.
Right.
And now suddenly he's leading a team that still has a chance to win the SEC championship. I think everybody has already kind of given it to Auburn, but, they've still got to come to Knoxville. They've got some tough games in Tennessee, now just 2 games behind Auburn. They've still got a chance to win the SEC championship. And with 2 freshman guards, that's pretty remarkable. So this team could be pretty special when you get to March because you got guard play. And as you know, in the NCAA tournament, a lot of it is about guards and taking care of the ball and making shots. And this Tennessee is doing that right now.
I thought that Bob Kesling, voice of the Vols, here with us on 104.5 The Zone. We're talking about Tennessee's victory at home over the Kentucky Wildcats. I thought the way, handled is probably the wrong way to describe how they were able to kind of basically mitigate Oscar Tshiebwe, who was held to 13 points and 15 rebounds throughout the course of the game. The way that this team is playing defensively, Bob, it feels like they've really, really settled into what their identity is as a basketball team under Rick Barnes.
Yeah, I think they've improved. It's interesting. Coach Barnes, from the start of the season, was on Kennedy Chandler, not about his offense, about his defense. And he would never really get on him too much about his offense, but he wanted him to be better defensively. And I think the last couple of weeks, T.J. Ford has been given a lot of credit for talking to Chandler about listening to Coach Barnes, and don't fight him. Just listen to him, what he tells you to do, and let him coach you. And I think he's doing that. And you look at how they're playing on the defensive end of the floor, and Chandler and Ziegler, nothing's easy against those guys. They protect the ball. They chase the ball. I've never seen 2 guys that never give up on a play like they do. They might get beat on a play, but they run the guy down at the other end and knock the ball away, and they get in passing lanes and deflect balls. It's just hard to score on them. And last night they built that wall around the free throw line, and Kentucky Wheeler couldn't penetrate, and they couldn't get to the basket, and then they covered the wings so well. So they put that wall up, and Kentucky really had a hard time even getting good shots, let alone making baskets.
Bob, Lucas and I were talking about this game to open the show this morning, and Lucas made the comparison to the 2018-2019 Vols team, the series that they had against Kentucky. Similar results, basically, in the 2 games that they played that season. And I think there's a lot of comparisons being made as far as this team is concerned, at least their upside with that Grant Williams and Admiral Schofield, Jordan Bone team that saw their Final Four, their hopes basically derailed by Purdue in 2019. Are those comparisons fair to that Rick Barnes team that so many Vols fans loved?
Well, that was more of a veteran team. They had guys on that team that had played a lot of basketball, and there were pretty high expectations for that team. I don't know if anybody knows what the ceiling is for this team.
Right.
Suddenly Justin Dew comes in. Well, what's he going to look like in March? I don't know. If if he keeps getting better, I mean, he's going to be a tremendous addition to this team. We still don't know what you got with Brandon Huntley Hatfield. We don't know where that guy's going. I mean, you look at him, he's got all the physical tools. He's starting to get more minutes. He's starting to play better. John Fulkerson looks like he's back healthy now and playing. I thought he played one of his best games in his Tennessee career last night. And then you look at these two guards with Chandler and Ziegler. I mean, how much better can they get by the time March gets here? They're not playing like freshmen, that's for sure, so they're sophomores already. But I've never seen two freshmen like they don't flinch. I mean, they're not scared of anything. They go out there and they're going to take it to you. And I think with the more games that Tennessee has won, I think the more confident these teams are getting. I think I think they've kind of proven to themselves that they can play with anybody in the SEC, and that's a big step for a freshman to learn that. And then Josiah Jordan-James, we talk about all these other guys, but he's kind of the glue guy. I mean, you look down at the stats, and he's got 8 to 12 points and 7 or 8 rebounds and 3 assists and a couple of blocks, and I mean, he just kind of pulls everything together. So I don't know what the ceiling is for this team. I just don't know. They're going to get a big test at Arkansas on Saturday, and then they've got Auburn coming in. They go to Missouri on Tuesday. But, so the next 2 weeks, we're going to learn a lot more about this team and how much more can it grow and how much more can they get better. But I'm very encouraged. I mean, last night's performance, you look back, you look at the Arizona game. I mean, that was a marvelous performance by this team against one of the better. I think Arizona is I think they can win the national championship. And Tennessee just took it to them. So that Arizona game probably, when you look back at it, really gives this team a lot of confidence that, that they can play with the best teams in the country. And so I'm excited about where they're headed. And we'll get another big test on Saturday at Arkansas because Razorbacks, after a slow start, they've got it clicking right now. So it'll be a big test at Bud Walton. I'm sure there'll be over 20,000 at that game, and Tennessee's got to handle the crowd, and the freshmen have got to handle the communication aspect of it. But I think they're looking forward to it.
Yeah, if the Arizona team, or if the Arizona game didn't make them confident, certainly the 5 straight wins, 8 consecutive SEC wins for this Vols team would do it. Bob Kesling, voice of the Vols. Of course, he'll be on the call Saturday with Burt Bertelkamp on the Vol Network of Tennessee on their way to Arkansas. We'll see if the Vols can't keep Eric Musselman's shirt on. Bob, thanks for hanging out with us this morning. Appreciate you.
Hope they do that. That's not a good look. We don't want to see that on Saturday. Hey, thanks. Talk to you soon.
Bob's the best. Bob Kesling there hanging out with us on 104.5 The Zone. We didn't spend near enough time on shirtless Eric Musselman, to be honest with you.
Does he still have the sling, you think?
By Saturday?
Yeah.
I don't know what his injury is.
I don't either.
I would have to maybe you do us a solid. Maybe you look up what Eric Musselman is.
That was the best part of the whole shirtless deal is his arm still in a sling the whole time.
No, yes, the visual of shirtless Eric Musselman after upsetting Auburn at Arkansas with the sling on, and then afterwards his police escort. He looked like somebody got arrested, like after a long night at a bar. He looked like somebody, dislocated shoulder, wandering around the streets of where is the University of Arkansas located? Fayetteville. Wandering around Fayetteville, just disheveled and celebrating because his team had knocked off one of the best basketball teams. Auburn was number 1 when they lost.
Auburn was number 1. They were knocked down 1 peg to number 2. Musselman was injured about a month ago in a collision with a player.
Oh.
And an MRI confirmed he had torn tendons and required surgery.
Oh, God, what is that?
He ran into a player.
What's he doing? Is this like a Mike Vrabel ref thing during the playoffs? You remember that during the Baltimore game when Vrabel just doesn't see the refs?
Just got decked. And then he apologizes as he's falling back.
It's so good. It was a fun night of college basketball, by the way, last night. We'll move on. We got the dumbest thing in sports this week coming up next. But I did really enjoy the way that the Duke situation was wild against Wake Forest last night. You had Coach K, he looked very, very bad when he was out there in the first half, like physically unwell. It made me kind of sad to look at him. And then he was so physically unwell that he could not coach the second half. Duke's coach in waiting, John Shire, had to take things over they ended up getting a win. It was a wild ending between Duke and Wake Forest. Incredible games with South Carolina over Ole Miss in overtime with a half-court three to win it. A lot of fun in college hoops and just in time to ramp things up for the tournament. 615-737-1045. You can jump in on the conversation if you would like to do so. We got the dumbest thing in sports coming up later and a conversation about Harold Landry that I want to get into because I did a little reporting last night on what his contract demands, or at least one thing that he prioritizes. And we'll talk about that coming up next. Not only can you hang out with us on the radio, welcome back, by the way, you can watch the show. Sit in the studio with us, basically, on Zone TV. Had a couple people write in. I want to make sure I get the name right in particular. Got to scroll up really quick through the comments. But he said basically that he started a new desk job today and that he no longer is restricted to just listening to us in his breaks. He's able to watch the show throughout the course of the day, which sounds like he's procrastinating in a huge way, if that's how he's choosing to spend his day at work. Alex Biggs, who writes us, "Good morning, Buck. I got a new job with a desk and a computer, so now I can watch instead of listening on my lunch break. So now I can bless you with my presence every day."
Whatever we can do to make you less productive. While we're here.
615-737-1045. The Champ 1548 writes, "Did Buck get any stray cats come to his house last night because Ron Slay was spanking kitty cats on." Now, PETA, don't come after us, all right? It was a stuffed teddy bear that Slay has in the boom boom room.
Where was he getting the cat sounds from?
Somebody had to have been, like, I just imagine little Ron, like he's going to be the production assistant for all of Slay's ridiculous videos, his antics on social media. So I imagine that Slay, who I think is still in the YouTube chat, is chasing little Ron around the house after the Vols win, after he's celebrated, after he's delirious. And he's saying, "Hey, Ron, I need you to look up cat sounds. Like, it sounds like just anguished cat sounds, basically. And I need you to hold this up behind me while I take my belt off and whoop a stuffed teddy bear like it's a Kentucky Wildcat because the Vols just put it on him." This is courtesy of Slay's Twitter account at RonSlay35.
Oh, yeah. I got some. You got me in.
This sounds disturbing.
Lock the door.
Let it be known that this is not a real cat.
Say their name. Say ball. Say ball.
This is terrible.
Say ball. Say ball. Say ball.
He's got his belt off.
We're gonna spank that butt. Now y'all get on back up in the interstate. You hear me? Come back up in the interstate. Get kitty. You better get.
I'm realizing the audio might be disturbing.
It sounds like pretty distressing. Like if somebody's just turning.
No animals were harmed in the making of this
Yeah,
video.
I feel like we may have made a mistake just playing the audio without the context. Because I heard that. I didn't see it. I was just like scrolling. I think it was on Instagram too. I was scrolling, but like the cat, it made me sad.
Oh, no, as cat owners,
It made me
hurt
sad.
my heart.
Lucas and I both have cats, and I was just like, oh no, not the sad cat noises. I can't take it.
Did he look that up on YouTube and just start playing cat sounds?
That's what I'm saying. Like he's having little Ron run around and help him with the production quality of his videos. It's just so ridiculous. 615-737-1045. Slay just writes in the YouTube chat, "Cats with a K were harmed in the making of this video."
Not real cats.
Not real cats.
Kentucky Wildcats.
Speaking of which, people are pissed. At least, not everybody that listens to our show, that watches our show, is a Vols fan. We're completely realistic about that. There is nothing that dictates you have to be, but the vast majority are. So after Tennessee wins a big game over a top 5 opponent, with 5 games left to go before the tournament, I think there is a fair amount of discussion and praise that needs to be directed towards the basketball team. And what's happening in the chat right now is pretty funny. And Lucas, you told me that we got a few calls that haven't made it on air today about people calling in like pissed that Vols fans are enjoying this win so much. Yeah, because I know we have Kentucky fans in our listening audience. I know that our signal goes, into Western Kentucky, basically, because we get callers all the time from, like, Bowling Green. But the way that people react to Tennessee fans winning anything always makes me laugh. Because there are people who are legitimately bothered by the idea that Vols fans are in our YouTube chat celebrating. Like there's a fight you've pointed out to me that's broken out.
Yeah, and Lonzo, who I very much appreciate every day. We love Lonzo. He's in the YouTube chat every day on the Zone with his Mississippi State profile picture, acting like Mississippi State fans wouldn't have stormed the court and then burned down Starkville last night if they had been the ones to beat the Kentucky Wildcats.
That's what I'm saying. Like, why can't you just celebrate a big win? Now, maybe it's an SEC thing, right? And it's not the part of it where everybody's chanting at the national championship game, SEC, because at that point it's just Alabama and Georgia, and everybody else is watching, hoping to get back into that game. This is not that. This is the tribalism part of the SEC, where you can't allow another fan base to have happiness, particularly between these two fan bases. Because Vols fans hate UK and Kentucky fans hate Tennessee. And the chant last night made me laugh, just like football. We kept going, just like football in the crowd at Thompson Bowling Arena. Lethal Latin writes, Mississippi is boring. They watch people drive through their state for fun. Yeah, well, not all of us have the luxury. Isn't there a terrible country song called Flyover States? I'm pretty sure Mississippi.
Jason Aldean. Yeah.
It's a terrible song. It's just a terrible, terrible song. 615-737-1045.
I think I just heard it on a party bus driving by.
Yeah, really? Well, I mean, we're right by the main hub for the party buses. In fact, but Flyover State, that's not really a Pedal Tavern song, is it? I mean, I don't know. Maybe you're just playing things that sound like country music.
Have you been on a Pedal Tavern?
I've been on one.
What was the playlist?
I don't remember. To be honest with you, I don't remember. Not because I was so blacked out drunk. It's because I was trying to focus on and it's nothing against our individual, like, what do you call them? Party. Do you call them the captain of the Pedal Tavern? Like the person who is guiding you through this Pedal Tavern experience or party bards. Like there's always a hype man or woman who's on the Pedal Tavern with you. And for my one experience, in fact, this was a 104.5 The Zone sanctioned Pedal Tavern that I was on. This had to have been 3 or 4 years ago when I did it. But our pedal, what do I call them? What's the proper term? I don't want to be disrespectful to our Pedal Tavern community that listens to this show. Are they the captains of the Pedal Tavern?
Sure.
Not helpful. Not helpful at all. You can't just say sure, nod your head at me sadly, and then sink back into the darkness. It's just a dead fish that you've left me on my lap.
Can't say I've given that much thought.
Thank you very much. 615-737-1045. Jim is in Kentucky, as a matter of fact. He wants to talk about this game. Good morning, Jim.
Hey, guys, huge Kentucky fan here. I'm just glad that we're in the conversation this year because last year I think we won 9 games and decided to skip the NCAA tournament altogether.
Kentucky? I mean, this is Calipari. And I mean, Jim, how do you feel about Coach Cal? Just like on principle. I mean, I know he's got a championship. I know that he's done right by Lexington and by that school. How do you generally feel about John Calipari's tenure?
I like Coach Cal, and I like Rick Barnes. I think the SEC in general has got the best coaches right now, top to bottom. And when you look at these teams, everybody's holding serve at home this year. I think UT's 14-0. Kentucky's 5 losses are all on the road. Auburn's, their 2 losses are on the road. And when you look at LSU, they're doing well at home. But I think when it comes down to the tournament, when everybody has to be away from home, you're going to kind of see, as Kessling was saying, the guard play come out. And right now, Tennessee's got great guard play. Auburn, great guard play. And if the Washington kid for Kentucky is able to come back from that knee injury, Kentucky's got pretty good guard play with their 3. So I think all 3 of those teams are Sweet 16 teams, and I wouldn't be shocked if we don't see 1, possibly even 2 of them in the Final Four.
Thanks very much for the call, Jim. I think you make a great point about the quality of coaching in the SEC. Are we at the point with, and I mean SEC athletics generally, are we at the point where they're going to get all of the best coaches, all of the best players in all of the sports? I I don't disagree with Jim about the quality of coach in the SEC, right? We associate great basketball coaches with the ACC, even though Roy Williams has been gone for a couple of seasons now at North Carolina. Coach K is, hopefully he's in good health, but last night wasn't even able. He's in his last season, and he wasn't even able to finish the second half of a game last night because of health. The ACC is not a kind of powerhouse. Who besides Duke do you look at right now in that conference and say, okay, that's a legitimate power in the sport of college basketball? The Big Ten is too busy cannibalizing itself on a regular basis, the least of which is my miserable Indiana Hoosiers, who just got smoked by Wisconsin.
You didn't have to watch that, though. That's good.
Huh?
You didn't have to watch that.
I watched it on DVR after the Vols game.
Oh, what's wrong with you?
I just, I'm a fan. Like, that's the one team that I'm a legitimate fan of. So I want to suffer the way that fans suffer, and my team stinks. But like the SEC has this now, right? Baseball, football, basketball, question mark? Are we at the point where this conference in all of college athletics and in at least the power sports, the revenue sports, are they going to continue to dominate across the board? Because I think we just generalize, and maybe we're getting out of this because more people are coming to that same realization that this is the conference for the best of the best across all sports, not just relegated to football anymore. Greg Sankey's got to be licking his chops.
You know how you know the ACC is down this year?
Yeah.
Wake Forest at this point is 2-3 games worse than Duke in their overall record. They're not ranked because they have 6 ACC losses. Most of those losses are bad losses.
That's what I'm saying. Like, Louisville's terrible. Their coach got fired in the middle of the season. Like, it's just Louisville's 11-13 right now. Yeah. I didn't realize it was that bad.
Yeah, things really crashed and burned with Chris Mack.
Notre Dame is not very good. Like, the ACC just nothing really impressive. More SEC dominance.
I don't think there's any question the SEC is top to bottom the deepest basketball conference in the league in basketball this year. No question.
Who is the worst? Well, how should I phrase this question? Who's the best worst team in the SEC right now?
I'm going to say Vanderbilt.
Okay.
Vanderbilt, who has the lead scorer in the SEC with Scottie Pippen Jr., is kind of one of those teams that has improved throughout the course of the season and can probably surprise anybody at any turn. And they're playing a lot better in the last month or so, but
they almost got the Vols.
They made it. Yeah, they made it interesting for sure. Georgia is a team that's just been flat out bad, but has beaten Alabama.
Makes me so happy. Get out of here, Tom Crean.
Yeah,
out of here.
We'll see if Georgia cares at all about basketball, whether or not they fire Tom Crean this season. But everybody's dangerous is the point. Georgia beat Alabama. They were a shot away from beating Auburn. And even Mississippi State is a team you don't want to play at home. And Ole Miss with Kermit Davis routed LSU on the road. So there's no easy outs this season in the SEC.
And that game was fun for Ole Miss last night in overtime. They got beat by South Carolina. Frank Martin, who's just decided to just go hairless. Frank Martin is at the stage of his life where just no mas. It makes him even more intimidating. Anyway, dumbest thing in sports. It's coming up next.
It is 11:01. Good morning. I'm Lucas Panzica. The Cincinnati Bengals announced today they have signed head coach Zach Taylor to a contract extension through the 2026 season. After winning 6 total games in his first 2 years, Taylor took the Bengals to 10-7 in 2021, winning the AFC North and the AFC for a Super Bowl appearance. Taylor also came out and said Bengals quarterback Joe Burrow played through a sprained MCL in the Super Bowl loss on Sunday. The Los Angeles County District Attorney will not charge free agent running back Adrian Peterson after his arrest at an L.A. airport on Sunday for what airport officials deemed domestic violence on a plane. The former Titans running back claimed it was a verbal altercation, and his wife Ashley defended him on Tuesday and is not pressing charges. Day 12 of the Winter Olympics in Beijing. The U.S. picked up its 8th gold medal on Tuesday as Alex Hall won men's slopestyle skiing. America's men's hockey team fell out of the tournament last night in the quarterfinals in an upset, falling to Slovakia by penalty shootout. Team USA's 3rd in gold medals and total medals behind Norway and Germany. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once in your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Welcome in on this Wednesday to 104.5 The Zone. Buck Reising here with you until 1 o'clock. Lucas is making it happen behind the scenes. We've got some good stuff coming for you, namely the dumbest thing in sports this week, this hour. You don't got to wait any longer for it. We got it covered for you here in just a moment. 615-737-1045 if you want to tell us what the dumbest thing in sports this week is. Now is your opportunity to get in line to do so. And so with that being said, there's a lot of dumb things that are happening right now in sports. Give me the music.
Let's be honest. You've already seen something this week that made you say,
"What the is this?"
That's bullshit.
What the hell? Give me some more now.
Something so mind-numbingly idiotic that you just want to get it off your chest.
Dumber than a second coat of paint.
Some idiot.
You are really dumb. For real.
It's the dumbest thing in sports this week on the Buck Reising Show.
Load them up. 615-737-1045. What's the dumbest thing in sports this week? I am going to start. I am going to take the city that I just came from last week. Spent a lovely week in Los Angeles. Lovely week at Super Bowl Radio Row. Super Bowl 56, hosted at SoFi Stadium, and now the Rams victorious. So people in L.A. are trying to turn the famous Hollywood sign into and this is the headline from TMZ. People are trying to turn the Hollywood sign into an homage, I believe is the correct pronunciation of that word, into an homage to the Rams to celebrate their Super Bowl win. But at this rate, it just might stay a jumbled mess come showtime. So their Super Bowl parade is today. Today in Los Angeles. I don't know exactly what time, but if you look at the famous hillside, it's called Griffith Park, you'll see what's happening on the hill where the Hollywood sign resides. They tried to scramble the letters to make it say Rams House, right? That's their whole thing. Whose house? Rams House. So they tried to get it to say Rams House. But honestly, when you look at the picture of this, they haven't finished it all the way, and I imagine that takes a fair amount of legwork. It kind of looks like the Titans logo during the Music City Bowl between Tennessee and Purdue, where you can clearly and obviously see the flaming thumbtack in the middle of the field. You can still see Titans in both of the end zones because they're playing at Nissan Stadium and they haven't done a good enough job making sure that the Music City Bowl, the field, looked clean that way. That's what the Hollywood sign looks like right now. And they're less than 12 hours, I think, from when this thing is supposed to begin. It looked better. For those of you who remember a couple of years ago when LA started to legalize marijuana, and they changed the Hollywood sign to Hollyweed, And they actually did it well. Like it looked really good. It looked funny. This was back in like 2017. That was just done by a bunch of people who were like playing a prank, not by like Los Angeles County government officials who were trying to do something good for the Super Bowl team. This is an embarrassment. It doesn't even look like anything. It doesn't look like a Hollywood sign anymore. And now it doesn't say Rams House. It says like Hallie. I don't know. I'm gonna botch it. Either way, dumbest thing in sports this week. Lucas, what you got?
My dumbest thing in sports this week is Kentucky strength coach Rob Harris, who happened to be sitting on the end of the bench when John Fulkerson, in classic John Fulkerson fashion. By the way, that was the most vintage John Fulkerson game you're going to see.
14-8 off the bench. He looked good.
No, he did. He provided a spark, but the amount of times that he ends up on the floor with every limb pointing in a different direction, that was maxed out last night. You love to see it. And what might have been his last game against Kentucky. But he goes sprawling into the Kentucky bench after firing the ball off of the Wildcat to earn the possession. And it looked like everything was civil, right? It's still in the first half. The game's pretty early on after the first or second media timeout. And Kentucky fans are Kentucky players rather, are almost going over there to help him up. And then Rob Harris, their strength coach, is kind of standing over him almost and blocking people off. And then in comes Santiago Vescovi to help him up, and he's kind of impeded by Harris. And then Zakai Ziegler gets involved. Now, I think what happened was Rob Harris looked at Zakai Ziegler, who was 5'9".
Less than 5'9".
And looked up at Zakai Ziegler and said, okay, I'm not letting the shortest guy on the floor come in here and push me around. And he kind of got into it a little bit. They start throwing elbows a bit, and then it turns into this big scrum right next to the Kentucky bench between Tennessee players, Kentucky players, and coaches. But Rob Harris, you're a strength coach. Come on, man.
You're an adult.
You're an adult. Let's be better. These are college kids and players. If the players start to push each other around, that's fine, but you're supposed to be the guy pulling them apart, not instigating things. Rob Harris is my dumbest thing in sports this week. Big Penny Hardaway vibes, right? Putting hands on players and trying to get involved in that fashion as a coach.
Don't get me started with Lil Penny, as Ron Slay likes to call him. How I'm going to look up how tall Rob Harris is, because he's shorter than Zakai Ziegler.
Yeah, he is.
Rob Harris. All right, that's not the right Rob Harris, not the British sports journalist who is working with the BBC.
No, he does great work, by the way.
Well, does he? Okay, very good. I did not. Well, I guess you would know who that is. Anyway, Rob Harris, the strength coach for Kentucky, he looks to be all of 4 foot. Like he looks to be diminutive.
I don't want to make fun of someone for their height.
I do,
but I think it's
no. Here's where the grounds, because listen, we don't have the opportunity to make fun of many people in 2022. Okay, so every time that I get a clean shot,
that's true,
at a group that's fair game, like I'm going to take the shot. Okay, here's what I will say. No. Wait, let me finish. just settle down for a second. We'll get to the phone calls in a minute. If you, as an adult, as a paid professional,
an adult man
on a college staff, puff your chest out as the shrimpy little strength coach for Kentucky basketball at a freshman, and a freshman, by the way, who should still be in high school technically by his age. If you puff your chest out at that person, we're allowed to make fun of how short you are. We're allowed. Like, I don't make the rules. These are the rules. We do not get to make fun of anybody anymore. I want to make fun of somebody, especially the D-bag who puffs his chest out at a college basketball player who is probably, 6, 7, 8 years younger than him? Stop it. Get out of here with Rob Harris.
I think what happened was, because you see Ziegler out there, and he looks tiny, right? Like Uros Plavšić dribbles an entire Zakai Ziegler every time he bounces the ball. So I think when Harris sees Ziegler out there doing his thing, and then he comes close to him and he realizes, oh, he's taller than I am, maybe that sets something off in his brain.
615-737-1045. What's the dumbest thing in sports this week? What's not dumb, what's in fact quite wholesome, is Van Jefferson. He's on SportsCenter right now with the new baby. Wait. It says on SportsCenter right now, celebrated Super Bowl win and birth of second child Sunday. We know from his coach at Ravenwood, his high school coach who joined us, that this is in fact Van Jefferson's third child.
Yep.
In the clip going around from Paramount Plus, he's pictured there with 2 children.
Yeah.
Saying that okay.
ESPN the whole time has said it's his second child, but no, it is.
Which is why you gave that to me yesterday.
No, that is why, and I made that mistake. Coach Hester corrected us.
All right, very good. So it's not just us who is failing as a journalistic entity.
A very wholesome moment, though, on the field when he was told about the baby, and he had to explain to his 2 young children, Mom's having your brother. We got to go.
Joseph is in Smyrna with the dumbest thing in sports this week. Good morning, Joseph.
Good morning, Buck. Dumbest thing, man, it's you going after Panzika, picking the Bengals, and then going after him because you picked the Rams, and then you tweet out Rams and the under,
That's
kids.
right.
That's what you totally. You should have just went. Look, you should have just went Cooper Kupp 2+ touchdowns, and you would have been right. Period.
I know. I almost at that damn extra point, Joseph. That holder, disrespect. I took both sides. You know why? Because I'm smart. What? What do you mean? 3 bells?
Yeah, 3 bells.
That's
Bells for
unprecedented.
Joseph. That's unprecedented. Let me look at this text you sent at 7:35 p.m. on Super Bowl Sunday. I get a text from Buck Reising. I'm so glad I picked the Bengals as the Cincinnati Bengals storm back and rattle off 17
What did you text
unanswered.
me back?
I said playing both sides.
What did I send you
and
after
you
that?
said, welcome to sports radio, kid.
Smart.
Playing both sides so you always come out on top.
I'm a one-man band. I have to find some way to be right even when I'm wrong. That's how you win. That's how we do this. 615-737-1045. And the highest honor, 3 bells there for Joseph on the dumbest thing in sports this week. More of your phone calls coming up next. We got more people to make fun of here on 1045 The Zone. Oh, man. It's a mess. It's the dumbest thing in sports. It always gets a little messy. But today, the chat, truly a mess. We were talking about Van Jefferson. SportsCenter's wrong. He has 3 children, not 2. They had just had him on to talk about the birth of his 3rd child. And the chat, Michelle Lynn on YouTube, to be more specific, she says, who's reporting that Van Jefferson only has 2 children in ESPN? Is it Schefter? Is he wrong again? What's wrong with you guys, man?
Is he a truther like that, like with the Music City Miracle?
I just imagine him just banging on a desk with his editors. No, sources say 2. So stupid.
Oh, man.
615-737-1045. What's the dumbest thing in sports this week? We got John in Murfreesboro chiming in. What's up, John?
What's up? All right, so I listen to you guys all the time because you're my favorite sports talk show.
Oh, that's kind.
But I will not stand for the slander of Penny Hardaway anymore.
Oh, he's terrible. Terrible, John.
The man is 6-0, and he just beat a very good Houston team. All he's ever said is, let my guys get healthy. So the dumbest thing in sports this week is anybody slandering Penny Hardaway. I get it. It's Nashville, and Nashville has a superiority complex, and a lot of that is rooted in socioeconomic and racial histories. But no, Penny is better than what y'all have given him credit for. He's not Coach K, and I'm not saying that he is, but all he ever said was, let my guys get healthy. These guys have gotten healthy. He's gone 6-0 on that run. He beat a very good Houston team, beat a good Cincinnati team last night, and they're probably going to make the tournament.
Thanks for the call, John. Well, it's not the only thing that Penny said, right? Penny said some more stuff other than just let his guys get healthy. Lucas, do we have all the things that Penny said?
I think the one thing I can say to this media, because this media gets kind of up sometimes when it comes to me, we don't have our full roster. Y'all know we don't have our full roster. Yeah. Stop asking me stupid questions about if I feel like I can do something. If I had my roster like they did, then I feel like I can do whatever I want to do. I'm coaching really hard. My boys are playing really hard. I'm not embarrassed about nothing. We have 4 freshmen starting. Y'all need to act like it. Act like we got 17, 18, and 19-year-olds out here trying to learn how to play against 22, 23, and 24-year-old guys. Come on, man. Stop disrespecting me, bro. Like, don't do that. I work too hard. I work way too hard for that. Y'all write all these articles about me, and all I do is work. We got young kids on the floor. They got young kids on the floor.
Oh, Penny. I'm so sorry that we hurt you that way.
Now, are they 6-0, as John said, or are they 15-8? The season,
well, they're 15-8.
Season started 6 games ago.
Yeah.
It sounds like.
No, but they're 6-0 now that the team's healthy, right?
Look, they are unbeaten since that rant. I'll give them that. They have the one good win against number 14 Houston.
You hate Penny.
Well, no, I don't.
Yes, stop.
I don't hate anyone.
Well, that's not true.
I'm a lover, not a hater.
No, listen. This is such a terrible game that you play, because I'm the one who is overexposed in this particular relationship. So it's a lot easier for you to be the likable one outside of our just general personalities and me having a likability problem. Well, so you are so much more efficient with how much more people enjoy you because you get to work in a lot shorter windows. But then when you lie in front of the live microphone and say that you don't hate Penny Hardaway so that I look like the bad guy, no, you get the hell out of here.
Play both sides. Always come out on top. You know this.
That's sports talk radio, kid.
Penny was brought in to win championships at Memphis, not to brag about beating UCF, East Carolina, and Tulsa.
Is Amani Bates even playing this year? Like, is he going to play?
I believe he's back. He did not play in that game the other day. I think he's back with Memphis. But
I knew he was back. But is he going to play?
I don't know.
Because you saw the Kentucky kid. He's already decided that he was going to shut it down for the season. This was last week.
Yeah, this is the problem with Penny Hardaway's era at Memphis. It's always about something other than what they're doing on the floor. And what they're doing on the floor just hasn't been good enough. He hasn't made one tournament. And he might not make it this year. Sorry, but those wins in the American, probably not good enough to get you in over some other bubble teams. You got Houston. There you go. There's your one good win in conference play.
Cincinnati was missing. If we're going to give Penny the excuse, just wait till I get my guys back. Cincinnati was shorthanded as hell last night. 81-74, Memphis beating the Bearcats yesterday. 615-737-1045. What's the dumbest thing in sports this week. What are people saying on Twitter, Lucas?
Lane says the dumbest thing in sports this week is the debate about if Matt Stafford is a Hall of Famer. Let the man enjoy his Super Bowl victory. Who cares? Good grief.
Is this just like a product of peak offseason? Is that what we're dealing with right now? Because, like, when have we ever talked about Matt Stafford? I understand the difference is now a championship, right?
Yeah, and the conversation started like immediately. Like in game, I saw people, if he goes and wins here, he's a Hall of Famer.
No, it started before.
Yeah.
Like in the week leading up. If Matt Stafford wins a Super Bowl, is he a Hall of Famer? I love sports talk radio. I largely hate people who do sports talk radio. Now, it's not just sports radio, right? Like First Take is the godfather of all of these terrible embrace debate things. And I'm not saying that it's bad. Like we do topics like that, right? Where I make you pick whether you'd rather re-sign Harold Landry this offseason or Ben Jones. Now, I think those are more reasonable conversations, right? Like I think those, at least you have to think about it. You have to go through, you have to look up some information. You have to come prepared for a conversation that we're going to have. It's not just, is Matt Stafford a Hall of Famer?
Say that to me. Say that to anybody. Say it to somebody.
He's, by the way, reinventing sports. He's on First Take every Wednesday now. Do we have that full clip? Do you have the full? Because I texted it to you. I don't know if you can pull that up on short notice. I have to play it again.
The rant, the Tom Brady.
I want the whole thing.
Rant.
I feel like we get new people that listen to the show all the time. I feel like we have to reset that as a bit because that's Chris Mad Dog Russo. Chris Mad Dog Russo is doing. Stephen A. Smith has just completely transformed First Take since he ran Max Kellerman off to morning sports talk radio on ESPN for him to get old and gray while Keyshawn Johnson buries him in hot takes about film he didn't watch. But Stephen A. has Michael Irvin on every Monday. He has Chris Mad Dog Russo on every Wednesday. This is how we're reinventing sports talk conversation by running out the inventor of sports talk radio for the most part to scream and yell about Tom Brady and Deflategate and say that to me, say that to anybody, say it to somebody.
Shut up. Stay low.
Don't tell me what to do, Chris. We're going to find that at some point. I know we have it. If I have to tweet it and send it to you via DM so we can do it, I'll do it, damn it.
Joey says, dumbest thing in sports this week, James Harden saying he's happy in Philly.
I don't care. It's so weird. I normally love this part of the NBA. Maybe it's just because I haven't, I've been kind of disconnected from basketball this year. I mean, other than paying attention to what Ja Morant and the Grizzlies are doing on a night-by-night basis. I'm not saying I watch every Grizz game, but I'll flip them on if they're on and keep track of what Ja's doing as far as what his numbers are concerned. But I can't get myself to care about Ben Simmons and James Harden. Like, this just doesn't – like, LeBron is not going anywhere in the playoffs. No intrigue there. Golden State is good. They're going to continue to compete, but you can't even hate Golden State anymore because you can't hate Kevin Durant anymore even because he's been saddled with an even more unlikable person in Kyrie Irving. He's not even the most hateable person on his team anymore. There's nothing that really gets me passionate about basketball right now.
Dumbest thing in sports this week is people being upset at LeBron for enjoying the halftime show while the Lakers have a losing record.
What? Now people are mad at LeBron?
Oh, yeah. The videos of him dancing. It was like, Lakers, so-and-so, whatever the record is.
Did they have a game? Like, is he missing a game to watch the
he's not allowed to have fun. They have a losing record.
What do people think athletes do?
He should be getting shots off.
He, by the way, he's playing fine. It's that anchor that they've tied to. I mean, he tied it to himself because he's the one orchestrating the Lakers transactions. But it's Russell Westbrook that's terrible. LeBron's fine.
It's like the A.J. Brown thing in the batting cages. They just lost the playoff game. How could he be hitting a baseball?
Or Arthur Smith interviewing for jobs right after the Titans season ended. Like, what do people think these individuals do in their spare time? Like, you can't do football all of the time. That's not how it works. Like, I get that you're going to do a certain amount of, like, rest and rehabilitation for your body. You're going to spend a certain amount of time on your playbook, things of that nature. But, like, what do people think athletes do in their free time? I've never understood why people get so butthurt by that.
Evan called in with the dumbest thing in sports, saying the Tom Brady coming out of retirement talk, saying people are diving too closely into what Tom Brady has said on his podcast.
Wait. Evan called in to say this, but he's not on the phone?
He did not want to be on the air.
Are you an answering machine for the dumbest thing in sports this week now?
Normally, if someone tells me I don't want to be on the air, but they're probably not going to have their opinion heard. But I thought that was an interesting one because we haven't really talked about Tom Brady leaving the door open, cracked just a little bit.
You know what's dumb? I think the conversation around this Olympics has been dumb. We were talking about this on the phone earlier, and we'll get into 615-737-1045. You can jump in on the dumbest thing in sports if you like. We've got Harold Landry contract talk, by the way, coming up in the third hour of today's show. But the conversation around the Olympics has been exceedingly dumb. You had the opportunity. You were watching some downhill skiing this weekend, yeah?
Electric.
Understandably, right? Like not just literally probably charged with electricity because they're doing these. They've built a fake snow ski ramp out of a power plant in Beijing. Like not just that kind of like literally electric.
No, this is different though. This is downhill where they're carving down a mountain at 80 miles per hour.
What am I talking? I'm talking about like the big jump event. I don't know.
Maybe the one where they fly like a flying squirrel.
There's a more specific title for that. Forgive my lack of Olympic terminology. But yes, you were watching downhill skiing. Downhill skiing is understandably one of the most exciting events in the Winter Olympics. The Olympics are down 50%. 50! Half of their audience from the last Winter Olympics just gone. NBC has to be absolutely scrambling right now. And I don't know whether it's a combination of things that have people checked out about the Olympics. Because one, I mean, the whole China situation, just on principle, regardless of what your politics are, like we can all agree that China is doing some wretched things as far as what's the word that I'm
human
looking
rights?
For? Human rights. As far as just general human rights concerns in China, where you've got anyway, I don't want to get into all that. So there's a turnoff immediately because of who the host country is. And because they are dictating the conversation around it so everybody can keep their money, how much ever money you've got invested in China, whether you're the NBA, the IOC, or everybody in between, China is dictating the conversation, and that's not a place where any of us want to exist, right? And I'm talking about the Chinese government. The people of China have no say in this, literally have no say. Then there's the fact that I think there's just a general lack of interest in Winter Olympic Games as opposed to Summer Games. Because summer, there's more attention on it, right? You're having the Olympics compete basically with the NBA and the NFL. Just the NFL playoffs, much less. Like it's just you're never going to get any kind of air. And an 8-hour time difference on top of that, where you got Chris Collinsworth and Al Michaels telling you after the Super Bowl, hey, kids, stick around. We got Olympic coverage coming up at 10.
Bobsled coming up next.
And just like, no, I don't need it. I don't need to stick around, Al. I don't need that in my life. The conversation around the Olympics is interesting to me this year. I want to spend some more time on that later. Evan is in Nashville, up next with the dumbest thing in sports. Hello, Evan.
Hey, Buck. Hope you're doing well, man. It was going to be about Tom Brady unretiring, quote unquote, but I had to pivot. Sorry on that, Lucas, but. It's got to be.
Wait. Evan, are you leaving messages with Lucas if we don't get to your phone call? Is that what's happening here?
No, not at all, man.
I don't believe you.
Yeah, I didn't want Lucas to think I lied to him or try to manipulate him.
What's the dumbest thing in sports this week?
It's got to be Vernon Hargreaves at the third, man.
Oh.
Like, I followed the Bucs for a while, and you could legitimately say maybe they only won one game because of him while he was there in Tampa. And just when you think that he can't hurt a team anymore, he finds a way to do it when he's not on the field. The dude's never been that great at decision-making, and obviously that part of his game has not improved. I just don't understand that situation at all, and it hurt his team, so that's got to be my dumbest thing.
Thank you so much for the call, Evan. 615-737-1045. Lucas, I'm gonna DM you a clip from Al Michaels that I want you to play from the Super Bowl of this penalty. I would argue that the Vernon Hargreaves penalty is the dumbest penalty ever received, ever taken in a Super Bowl. It is egregious. Like he's inactive, just to kind of reset the scene if you don't if you don't know what Evan's talking about. Vernon Hargreaves is a former first-round pick at corner. It's one of the dumbest, I think it is the dumbest penalty in Super Bowl history. He's not dressed for the game. He's inactive. And he runs on the field out of uniform as the Cincinnati Bengals are celebrating an interception made by Jesse Bates. Listen to Al Michaels just rip him on the broadcast on NBC.
Inactive. And he may be inactive for a while after this scene.
You're done. That's Al Michaels. That's Al Michaels with the kiss of death. You're done. Cut on the spot. Vernon Hargreaves, he played in 4 games this year for the Bengals. 1 start. And that, he thinks, gives him the right as a healthy scratch in the Super Bowl to run out on the field and celebrate an interception as if he has done anything to contribute to that football team. It was funny to listen to the officials talk about it in real time. They said a non-uniform guy. Penalty on a non-uniform guy is how that was described by the officials in Super Bowl 56. That's Vernon Hargreaves. Vernon Hargreaves forever remembered as non-uniform guy. Brett Wallace says he definitely wants more Grizz coverage from us. Dude, I mean, I feel like I can hear people changing the channel here locally, like in Nashville locally, if we start to do like Grizzlies talk. Am I wrong about that?
Probably not.
I love John Morant. I don't know how much people are going to. I don't know how much interest. In fact, I know how much interest. There's precious little interest in people in us talking about the Grizz on a day-by-day basis. We have Ramon Foster audio from this morning on J. Martin Ramon. Did he know that we were doing I assume he knows that we do the dumbest thing in sports this week every Wednesday, but Ramon teed off on something that I thought was laugh out loud funny, because if you saw on social media, the Bengals and the Rams both had pregame pep rallies for their teams. The Bengals had a pep rally after the Super Bowl for their team that lost as they arrived back in Cincinnati. And apparently Ramon Foster, he did not like this.
So, since he makes it to the playoffs and to the Super Bowl and loses it, fine. Okay, I lost mine too. But you know what wasn't waiting for us when we got back home? A caravan of people waiting for you at the buses to congratulate you on losing. I'm like, there's a caravan of people to say, hey, we sorry you lost. Mm-hmm. That never happened while I was playing. Like, no, that's small team energy right there.
Small team energy. I love that. He basically just accused the Bengals of being a participation trophy fan base because they were happy that their team made it to a Super. Now, I mean, there seems to be some harsh feelings between Titans fans and Bengals fans. I don't know what happened after the playoff game between the two contingencies on social media, because we had people, who was it, Paxton called in yesterday, said the Bengals are the worst losers of the sports weekend, literally. I think that, I'm kind of with him. Is that mean to say?
Titans did that when they lost to the Rams in the Super Bowl, had a parade.
It's a different time, though. Right?
I mean, the team was still brand new to Nashville, relatively. I think it's a case-by-case thing. Like, nobody's throwing a pep rally for the 17-0 Patriots that lose in the Super Bowl. But the story around the Bengals this year, to go from winning 6 games in 2 years to 10-7 and go into the Super Bowl, I mean, it was as close to a Cinderella run as you can get in the NFL, right? I think it's different. I just think it's different.
Now, Jay in our YouTube chat says Titans had a parade. He chimes in. Titans had a parade for the Super Bowl experience back in 1999. So he says he skipped school for it. I'm sure plenty of people did, but would not. I mean, is that not the same thing that Ramon's saying? Small team energy.
Yeah, I think that's more likely to happen in a smaller market with maybe a more tight-knit fan base.
I'm not like ripping people that wanted to celebrate the 99 team that went to the Super Bowl. I'm not ripping the people who enjoyed that welcome home committee or whatever. But is that not an accurate assessment? Like, that's one of the oldest cliches in the sports discussion book. Act like you've been there before. I don't know. Like, am I too get off my lawn if I'm like, yeah, what did they do? They lost.
Yeah, I don't know. The act like you've been there before thing, to me, kind of it rings hollow when you've literally never been there before, right? And I know the Bengals have, but it was before texts were a thing.
They're 0-3 in Super Bowls.
Yeah.
So you're going to welcome them back after being 0-3 in Super Bowls and being like, hey, guys, great job, pat on the butt.
If the Bengals go back to the Super Bowl in 2 years after going 14-3, 1 seed, every playoff game at home, and then they lose in the Super Bowl and come home, I'm guessing they probably wouldn't have a rally. But the way that it played out this season with the Bengals as essentially a Cinderella story in the playoffs, going on the road, knocking off the Titans, knocking off the Chiefs, I'm okay with it.
Danny says Bengals didn't organize the fans being there. It was a fan-organized event. I don't care whether it was like team done or not. I don't think the team would do it. I don't think teams are actively encouraging people to come hang around them after they take a devastating loss, right? That's going to be one of the most impactful losses in your life as a franchise, to lose in the Super Bowl. I don't think the team is putting that on. But as a fan base, I'm still sitting there thinking, like, if the Titans, and I don't remember if there was people that came to meet the Titans after they lost in Kansas City. I think I got a few DMs about that. Like, what time are the Titans getting back from Kansas City or something? I don't recall directly. It wasn't anything substantial. I don't know. I think that's probably one of my oldest man sports opinions. Like, they didn't win anything. What are you celebrating them for? You celebrate the winners, not just congratulations on getting there. Anyway, when we come back, we're going to talk about the Olympic situation, why the numbers are down literally half from the previous Winter Olympics, and why that might be the case. That's coming up next. If you want to jump in, you can. 615-737-1045. I'm Buck Reising on 1045 The Zone.
Hey, Rocket, what's my mortgage rate? Rocket, when am I closing? Is anyone there? Rockets are really cool, but they don't speak mortgage. You need a home loan expert for that. Get pre-approved for your next mortgage at thehomeloanexpert.com.
Just watching some highlights of Stephen A. and Mad Dog Russo on First Take today, arguing about Dak Prescott and Kirk Cousins comparisons. It's art. Lucas, I've just DM'd you the Tom Brady dad thing that we want to play to give people proper context for Mad Dog losing his mind. We need some new voices on the show. Do we have production meetings planned with the great Rhett Bryan to add more voices to the show? I want to change up the sounds a little bit around here.
Who? Because we have Scooby-Doo.
What are you
Liam
eating?
Neeson.
What are you eating?
Cheez-Its.
So you thought you thought that the time to open up your microphone with half a bag of Cheez-Its in your mouth?
Scooby-Doo, Liam Neeson, The Godfather, Howard Cosell, Keith Jackson, Sling Blade, and Forrest Gump. That's what we have from
That's
Rhett
pretty
Bryan.
good. Pretty eclectic.
That's an amazing arsenal of voices.
Just think about that range.
Yeah, that's so much
From
range.
Scooby-Doo to Sling Blade.
Who would you want? Like, who's at the top of your mind next? If you had to
Voice-wise?
pick one for Rhett to do. Hulk Hogan?
Yeah.
I bet he could do a great Hulk Hogan.
Well, he does a great Macho Man, right? Like, that Rhett, I mean, because he was freaking out. They had, who's the wrestling legend that they had in here earlier?
Jim Ross.
They had Jim Ross in, and people were freaking out in the studio, you said?
Yeah, no, people were starstruck.
Well, that's pretty cool. I think that's just a generational thing.
Rich Ferris put it well that he's basically the Jim Nance of professional wrestling.
Okay, I like that comparison. But I think that for this particular situation, like I don't know. I think that you know what I think? I think we need to complain about the Olympics, but first I want to hear Mad Dog. I want to hear Mad Dog. Do you have that sound ready? As soon as we have that sound ready, we're going to do that because I need the proper context for this today. I don't know why I'm so obsessed with hearing Mad Dog complain about Tom Brady's father, but I feel like people are new to the show and we just got to play it for him one time. Give it to me.
Shut the hell up! Shut up! Keep your mouth shut! Your son got nailed. Keep your freaking mouth shut. Framegate my shut up. Stay low. Shut the hell up. Framegate. You mean, are you kidding me? Come on, the guy cheated, folks. Let's be honest. I got to listen to Tom Brady's old man now, who, has lived in the bubble, and has lived under the scenario where his kid's been a phenomenal player all this time, and now he's trying to disparage the guy who spent 246 pages writing about it. Shut up. Put that guy on. See if he's got the guts to talk to somebody who's going to ask him a tough question. Go ahead. Better yet, put his son on. Let's see what he has to say. Put your son on. Don't hide. USA Today. Come on, talk shows. Hey, come on right now. Say that to me. Say that to anybody. Say it to somebody.
Exasperating.
It's perfect, right? It's me picking both the Rams and the Bengals in the Super Bowl. It's shut the hell up and then put the sun on. Like, shut up, but then come talk about it. Put him on talk shows. Chris Mad Dog Russo. Nobody is better. The Olympics, at this point, I think that the reason I am so disinterested in them, and we'll move on to Harold Landry contract stuff right after this, some information to share with you. Ramon Foster, who's in the chat on YouTube, says, LOL, wow, dude is mad at Tom's dad. By the way, Tom Brady Sr., hell out of here with your fake news and misinformation during the Tom Brady retirement process. Terrible job by Tom's dad. Say that to me. Say that to anybody. Say it to somebody. With the Olympics, I think the reason that I'm so disinterested in it more than anything, I don't think it's an outright political thing for me, right? Because people have political opinions on both sides about China, about the Communist Republic of China, about the Communist Party of China, and now we're hosting the world's games in a country where there are serious human rights issues. And it's not just the hilariousness of the ski jumps being conducted at the site of what looks like a nuclear power plant for me. I think it's just all of these things happening, also football running up against it, that has me completely checked out. And it's a shame because these athletes, outside of the Russian figure skating situation where the 15-year-old Russian girl was caught with performance-enhancing drugs. Now, because she's a child, legally, they did not disqualify her. But for me, the moment when they said, yeah, she can continue to be eligible, and I'm not mad at her, right? I'm certain. Well, I'm not certain because I don't know for a fact, but it is reasonable to expect, based on Russia's history of doping in the Olympics, that this was not something that the 15-year-old girl took knowing that it was a performance-enhancing drug, right? I think that's a reasonable conclusion to draw from the situation. But once the IOC just said, yeah, she can continue to compete, I'm like, well, then what's the point? I mean, what's the point? If it's just going to be this openly dishonest, this openly disgusting about where we're having these Olympics and who's competing in these Olympics, again, not mad at the 15-year-old girl, mad at the Russian trainers and doctors who probably gave her the supplement that caused her to test positive for performance-enhancing drugs. But if we're not going to have some kind of standard in the Olympics outside of the standard of, again, just basic human rights, why am I going to waste my time on this? I'll find something else to do. I'll put on an episode of Curb Your Enthusiasm. I'll start, I'll catch up on Euphoria on HBO. I've got too many other options at my disposal. And also, I don't want to track this stuff down on Peacock. Like, outside of the moral objections that you have to this, NBC put it in places you can't find it. They don't promote it at all. I had no idea Shaun White's career was just over. And it ended in, apparently, I don't think he even qualified for the final round of his individual event. And all of a sudden, Shaun White's career, after being one of our greatest Olympians in recent history in Winter Olympic Games, it's just done. And nobody knows it happens until they're talking about it on NBC Nightly News after the fact.
Did I show you the notification I got that Shaun White had his last run as an Olympian?
No.
It was brutal. I'm trying to pull it up.
Well, while you do that, I'll take Dylan's phone call. 615-737-1045. Dylan is in Melrose, up next on The Zone. What's up, Dylan?
Hey, Buck. Thanks for taking my call. Yeah, that's exactly what I wanted to hit on, too. And the biggest kicker about this Russian skater, so Russia in 2013 in Sochi had that massive state-endorsed doping campaign.
Yeah.
And they cannot actually call themselves Russia. They have to call themselves the Russia Olympic Committee, which is just completely stupid because everyone knows it's Russia anyway. But so now here they are 4 years later or whatever, doing exactly the same thing and getting busted for doping again. And, it is a shame that she's a minor. It's probably not her decision. She probably wasn't telling anybody, hey, give me this drug. But even the fact you had Tara Lipinski and Johnny Weir saying that, I know this is tragic for her, but she can't skate. And you have all these other skaters and all these other Olympic athletes come out and just basically questioning everything they've ever committed to, for their entire lives.
What are they even doing it for? If they're not going to disqualify the people who are cheating, why are they committing years of their lives to this thing?
100%. And it's just not fair to everybody, and it's just a complete joke, and it really kind of ruins the entire thing. But anyway, thanks for taking my call.
Thanks for the call, Dylan. 615-737-1045. It's disappointing to me.
This notification I got on Thursday at 9:03, February 10th. Shaun White misses out on podium from Yahoo Sports. The three-time Olympic gold medalist ended his remarkable career in fourth place on a remote mountain in the middle of China.
Oh, my God. Why did they do that to him?
Slowly escalates. It's just brutal.
No, read that last part again. That's they just stuck a knife in him and twisted it.
The three-time Olympic gold medalist ended his remarkable career in fourth place on a remote mountain in the middle of China.
Does that not sound like the saddest possible end to your career in any circumstance?
Lebowski tweeted at me and said, it sounds like a trailer for a psychological thriller.
In a world where a four-time Olympic medalist has nowhere else to go. Harold Landry, contract talk next.
It is 12:04. Good afternoon. I'm Lucas Panzica. The Cincinnati Bengals announced today they have signed head coach Zach Taylor to a contract extension through the 2026 season after winning 6 total games in his first 2 years. Taylor took the Bengals to 10-7 in 2021 and a Super Bowl appearance. Taylor also came out and said Bengals quarterback Joe Burrow played through a sprained MCL in the Super Bowl on Sunday. The Los Angeles County District Attorney will not charge free agent running back Adrian Peterson after his arrest at L.A. International Airport on Sunday for what airport officials deemed domestic violence on a plane. Peterson claimed it was a verbal altercation. His wife Ashley defended him on Tuesday and will not press charges. It is day 12 of the Winter Olympics in Beijing. The U.S. picked up its 8th gold medal Tuesday. Alex Hall winning men's slopestyle skiing. America's men's hockey team fell out of the tournament last night in the quarterfinals in an upset loss to Slovakia by penalty shootout. Team USA is 3rd in gold medals and total medals behind Norway and Germany. Tonight, Vanderbilt at 13-11 travels to second-ranked Auburn to take on the Tigers. Vandy coming off a loss at Tennessee on Saturday. Tip-off tonight is at 8 p.m. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Final hour already upon us here on this Wednesday. Welcome in, or welcome back if you've been hanging out with us this morning. We're happy to have you. Buck Reising here with you until 1 o'clock. Lucas Panzica's back there making it happen throughout the course of the show. You guys can jump in if you want. 615-737-1045. That's our number. 615-737-1045. I think that might have been the longest we've done a show without Titans talk since basically September, I would say. So let's get to some now, as a matter of fact. Free agency, less than a month away. Basically a month away, a few days shy of a month, but either way, the conversation, the period, the window where teams can start to have conversations with free agents and their representation is just about a month away from now. Titans have a lot of interesting roster decisions to make. There, of course, will be the combine in between free agency, so we'll have a better idea of where things stand as far as the draft class is concerned. But right now, the Titans have a number of their own that are going to be difficult decisions as to whether they will return on contracts, have sign new contracts, whether they will be extended at this point. And it's a pretty lengthy list of contributors. Now, we've been through this list before, and we'll stick almost exclusively with the unrestricted free agents, just because that's the more likely scenario of guys to hit the market right now. As far as restricted players are concerned, you've got names like Kari Blossingame, Cameron Batson, Derek Roberson, Tier Tart, and Nick Westbrook-Akina, all different forms of restricted free agents. But as far as the guys who are just out from under their contracts, you got a handful here. Ben Jones, Jayon Brown, Anthony Ferkser, Rashaan Evans, Jeff Swaim, Marcus Johnson, Randy Bullock, Chester Rogers, Michael Pruitt. These are among the many. Dane Cruikshank, another one. But the biggest one, the person who's going to come at the highest price point to bring him back to the football team, is Harold Landry. Now, Harold has said all of the right things publicly about where he is coming out of a contract year, how he's handling these things, the fact that it's not him handling it. That's why he's got representation to handle these things. And he's got a team of 4 of the biggest agents in the NFL who handle him directly at CAA. Tom Condon, his son Tommy Condon, Todd France, and Ben Renzen over at CAA. So he's got a team, one of the finest teams around him to negotiate his contract, because he will draw a big price on the market this offseason. Now, he's going to hit the open market at this point. And you're looking at some of the guys at that position, that edge defender position, that have received second-year contracts just going back to last year. Titans signed one of them, right, in Bud Dupree. 5 years, $82.5 million for an average annual value of $16.5 million. Now, Bud is 28. He's going to be 29 by the time, actually, I think he is already 29 right now. I think Bud Dupree just had a birthday. Maybe you could look that up for me, Lucas. We should probably know this. Stephen A. Smith, I'm sure, at some point has wished Bud Dupree a birthday.
Yeah, on what's today, the 16th?
Yes.
4 days ago, he turned 29.
Okay, so 4 days ago, Bud Dupree turned 29. An egregious mistake by us. We did not wish, well, Stephen A. did not wish Bud Dupree a happy birthday. We'll get you next year, Bud. Anyway, 29 years old is Bud Dupree. Harold Landry is currently 25. He will be 26 by the time next football season gets underway. So you're talking about a younger player. You're talking about a player in Harold who has not missed since he became a full-time starter. So he was a part-time player his rookie season, played in about 15 games. I think he only started 4. Since then, he has not missed a start in the last 3 years. So he's young, he's durable, and he's effective. Checks all of the boxes that you need for teams that will be looking to sign talent as far as that position is concerned in this offseason. And it remains, even though I think the premium is being placed more nowadays on interior pressure. Guys like Jeff Simmons, who will earn $20 million contracts when their money comes up, Chris Jones, Aaron Donald. Right now, though, Harold Landry is going to make somewhere in the neighborhood of between $17 and $19 million on an average annual value, whatever the term length of the contract is. Now, he doesn't have to be signed to a long-term contract, to a multi-year deal. Titans do have the ability to franchise tag him. Right now, as far as franchise tag projections are concerned, the latest estimates, courtesy of Pro Football Network, have come out at the beginning of this month to kind of look at the different values. They don't have a designation between defensive end and linebacker, right? This is the problem with the franchise tag designations. This is why players hate them. For a defensive end, the projected franchise tag, and remember, the money's going to go up, about $25 million this year. Franchise tag for a defensive end is 20.2. Harold's not a defensive end, right? He's an edge defender. He's an outside linebacker. He's an edge guy. So there's a $3 million difference on the tag between end and just linebacker. And the problem is they don't distinguish between inside linebacker and outside linebacker on the tag. So tag worst possible case scenario if you're Harold. But when we come back, I'm going to tell you what one of Harold Landry's top priorities this offseason is and what that's going to cost the Tennessee Titans. My question to you is this. If Harold Landry wants a contract that's top of market, as he deserves, by the way, he has earned the right to make this kind of a decision. If Harold Landry is going to command top of market money, is that something that you are willing to fork over the cash for? That you're willing for your organization to fork over the cash for? Because, of course, not coming out of your pocket. 615-737-1045. We'll talk about that situation coming up next.
Hey, Rocket, what's my mortgage rate? Rocket, when am I closing? Is anyone there?
At Golden.
Rockets are really cool, but they don't speak mortgage. You need a home loan expert for that. Get pre-approved for your next mortgage at thehomeloanexpert.com.
Is there ever a bad time for Reba? I would argue no. I don't know why I got on a Reba kick today, but I was getting ready for the show. Jump in the shower, windows down because it's a nice day in Middle Tennessee. Put on some Reba. We're living. Welcome back to the show here on this Wednesday. We're talking contracts, though. In the meantime, Fancy, don't let me down. Harold Landry did not let Titans fans down this past season. And really, I mean, that was the weirdest. Is that the weirdest draft class of John Robinson's career? Because that was the 4-man draft class, right? That's Rashawn, that's Harold, Cruikshank, and then Luke Falk.
Luke Falk.
Yes. Titans legend.
Would you say he went 3 for 4 there? I mean, the one that it comes down to is Rashaan Evans as a first-round pick.
And that was a trade up, if I recall, because they traded up both times. That's how they ended up with 4 picks. They traded up to get Rashaan, and they traded up to get Harold. Rashaan, I mean, he was inactive in their playoff game, so no. And I like Rashaan. I think Rashawn's got talent, but that's one of those ones that you struggle with because athletically he's as freakish as anybody at his position, but the complete package as far as what you need to play inside linebacker at a high level, particularly with a coach like Vrabel, no, that didn't pan out.
I mean, ideally, you draft that position in the first round to hold it down for more than one contract, right?
Yeah, because, I mean, me and Blaine, during a commercial break, we were having this argument about Marcus and Jameis, right? And this is a perpetual offset. Like, what do you consider to be a hit or a draft bust, right? That's classic summer sports talk radio. I refuse to do it in February. But, we still have these conversations just like you do, right? That's what makes it fun. So Blaine was arguing that Marcus Mariota is a bust because of his draft slot as the second overall selection. Jameis included in this. Even though Jameis was most recently a starting NFL quarterback and Marcus is relegated to, special third down packages or run-specific packages for that Las Vegas Raiders offense. I would say if they don't, but I mean, you could say this of all of John Robinson's first-round selections, right? Other than Jeff, who is almost assured to get a second contract. Rashaan Evans did not get his 5th-year option picked up, no extension. Adoree Jackson did get his 5th-year option picked up, but then they changed their mind. Changed their mind when they got rid of him. They cut him. And the NFL has since changed the rules, so you can't do that as an NFL organization. So Rashaan, Adoree, Corey, Conklin. None of those guys, Isaiah Wilson, right? And then Jeff Simmons, Caleb Farley. So you're talking about there's 7 in 6 draft classes because in the 17 class, they had 2 first-round picks. That's Adoree and Corey Davis. So 7 first-round picks as Titans general manager. We are thinking about one of them who is guaranteed for a second contract with the organization, right? And Jeff. Farley, we have no idea. Isaiah Wilson he is in the conversation for the most disastrous first-round picks of all time. I mean, I don't think there's any disputing that. So when you talk about Rashaan Evans and that draft class, Harold Landry is really the only one from that class. Hell, I mean, Christian Fulton may be that for the 2020 class at this point, given where Darrington Evans and Isaiah Wilson have been non-existent, given that Chris Jackson is fine and Laurel Murchison is fine as role players. Those guys do matter on football teams, of course, but we're talking about instant impact, high-quality talent. Harold Landry is the only one from that 18 class who you would consider, all right, they nailed it. Dane Cruikshank ended up working out at the end of his career as a defensive role player, but didn't amount to anything more than that, right? So with Harold, I did some reporting on this, and I talked to a couple of sources that are close to him, and what I was told is that he values, among several priorities, this is not his main priority, but among several priorities, what Harold Landry values is being the top paid player in his meeting room. Now, that doesn't mean the top paid edge defender in all of football. Like, he's not looking to outright break the bank, but it is important to him, wherever he plays in 2022, to some degree, to make more money than anybody else in the room. I think it's reasonable, right? I think that's earned. Again, Harold hasn't missed a game in 3 years. Each of those 3 years, you've made the playoffs. Harold has been hugely productive. This is, of course, several career highs for Harold Landry in 2021 as far as sacks with 12, quarterback hits 22. He was getting pressure in the years prior, but he didn't have the help around him, right? Jeff having one of his a career year for Jeff Simmons because of the improved talent around him. And also, they're high-quality players, both Harold Landry and Jeffrey Simmons and Bud Dupree and Danico Autry. So if he's to stay here, right, let's just run the hypothetical. And if Harold Landry, one of his priorities is to be the highest paid player in his meeting room, well, that title currently goes to Bud Dupree. 5 years, $82.5. So it's an average annual value of $16.5 million. Now, we know that Bud Dupree, the way that they structured the cap hit, Bud was on the books for like $6.5 last year. He's going to count $19 million against the cap this year. He's got the second highest. He takes up the second highest percentage of salary cap after Ryan Tannehill for the Titans in 2022. Bud Dupree does. So you're talking about a lot of money that's already committed to that position. We spent some time on this yesterday, right, where NFL teams typically, as they budget for the future and budget for sustainability, when they look at basically a 3-year plan in most cases for an NFL team, all right, how can we make the most of this over the course of 3 years if we're signing a player to a multi-year deal, whether it be an extension or a contract outright, that we can make work around our other salary cap situations, with the unspoken understanding that in almost every year, outside of the COVID year, cap's going to go up. It's going up a max of north of $25 million this year, as agreed upon by the league and the Players Association. So you're going to have $25 million extra on the books. Now, the Titans right now are one of the teams who's expected to be in the red as we sit here right now. They're about $6 million over the 2022 salary cap. So there's going to have to be some stuff that's done, some money that's moved. That doesn't mean that if you say, for example, restructure Kevin Byard's deal, that Kevin Byard's not seeing, that Kevin Byard's losing money. I think that's one of the biggest misunderstandings of restructure talk. But what is not misunderstood is that if you restructure, you will just be pushing cap hits further down the road in ways that make it more financially untenable when you have important decisions to make with your roster. That's kind of the spot that the Titans are in. Byard restructured in 2020 to make room for Clowney. Tannehill restructured in 2021 to make room for Julio. Julio restructured last year to make his cap hit more manageable as they tried to find ways to fill in stuff around him on the roster, around everybody on the offensive side of the roster. And so if Bud Dupree is making an average annual value of $16.5 million, well, the market will put Harold Landry somewhere between probably 17 and 19 million, because these are the contracts that were signed the year prior in free agency. T.J. Watt with the biggest of the extensions. No, excuse me, Joey Bosa with the biggest of the extensions signed a 5-year, $135 million deal. So he's making $27 million on average. For a shorter contract and a higher average salary, T.J. Watt, $28 million a year on a 4-year deal, $112 million. Then you take a substantial dip, almost $11 million as far as their salary on a yearly basis is concerned. You get into Shaq Barrett and Bud Dupree. Now, T.J. Watt, Joey Bosa, higher caliber, higher quality player than Barrett and Dupree. T.J. Watt and Joey Bosa are better players than Harold Landry. That's not a crazy opinion. That's who beat Harold out for the Pro Bowl voting this year. That's about on par with the performance. But he's right in that same caliber as Bud Dupree and Shaq Barrett, right? You probably put Harold in that same conversation. So if you're talking $17.5 million for Harold Landry next year, well, I looked at where teams are spending positionally. And and it wouldn't be a straight up $17 million cap hit in year one if they offered Harold a contract or a new contract, because they would make the cap hit work for this year in a way that's palatable. But when you look at over the cap has it broken down by positional spending. Right now, the Titans have $31.4 million committed to edge players, edge defenders. And there are currently 7 NFL franchises on track to spend more on edge defenders in 2022 than the Titans. Now, if you were to add, say, a $17 million salary, let's just say $17 million for the purposes of the hypothetical, even as we know that it would not be outright $17 million. Say you were to commit $17 million, an additional $17 million to the edge defender position. Well, there would still be 3 teams who are paying more for edge players than you would be. You would be in the top 4. You would squeeze out the Raiders, who are spending $40.6 million next year on just that position alone. The Bears, Packers, and the 49ers at the top have the most money committed to that specific position. So in theory, you could do it. It's not without precedent to have 2 multi-million-dollar edge defenders, outside linebackers, whatever you want to consider Harold. Harold does more than that, just rush the passer, right? He's good against the run. You can drop him into coverage and not hate it, even though a lot of you hate it. But he gives you value. He gives you versatility. So if you're to drop a contract like that into the middle of the Titans salary cap next year, yeah, it would stress you a little bit. It would stretch things pretty thin. But could you do it? Sure. Is it worth it, though? 615-737-1045. Would you be comfortable giving Harold Landry that kind of money after a contract year? I think that if you are looking to make the argument for, again, dependability, durability, production, Harold checks all of those boxes, and he sounds like he wants to be here, right? Like Harold Landry works with the Tennessee Titans. And if you were to bring him back, the thing that gives you the best chance at the Super Bowl right now, it's not your quarterback. Respectfully to Derrick Henry, I don't think it's their running back. The thing that gives them the best chance as a Super Bowl competitor, I think, is that pass rush. I don't think there's really any disputing it. The offense needs, of course, to produce more than 16 points in a playoff game. But the thing that gives you the best opportunity to win is the fact that you sacked Joe Burrow 9 times, that you made Patrick Mahomes' life in the regular season a living hell, that you had a grizzly bear of a defensive tackle straight bear hug Josh Allen to the ground on a 4th and 1 sneak inside the red zone to end the game and keep it from overtime. That defensive front is the best thing that you got. There's no way to predict that they will be able to be as good or even better in 2022 than they were this season. We've talked about this. Defense is difficult to replicate year over year, difficult to sustain year over year. So if you're making the argument for, there's plenty of good reasons to give Harold Landry the money, least of which he's earned it. But if you're arguing against, and I'm sure some of you will, you have to look at where that will take from. That will probably make it difficult for you to sign a tight end in free agency. It would make it more difficult for you to take advantage of this wide receiver market that's going to be pretty interesting in free agency. It is going to factor in to the decisions on A.J. Brown and Jeffrey Simmons and Nate Davis. All of this 2019 class who officially is, the 2019 class is officially eligible for contract extensions. So you're talking Amani Hooker, David Long, A.J. Brown, Nate Davis, Jeffrey Simmons still has the 5th-year option to play with. So you're taking money from somebody if you want to pay Harold. There's plenty of good reasons to do it. There are fewer reasons not to, but those reasons have potential impact on how this team will continue to be constructed and what will make this team competitive into years to come. 615-737-1045. Does it matter to you that Harold Landry wants to be the top paid player in his meeting room? I don't think it should. Maybe you disagree. Chris is in Nashville up first on 1045 The Zone. Hello, Chris.
Hey, how you doing?
What you got for me?
Hey, I don't really know how the salary cap thing works, but you said that he wanted $17 million, but will we subtract the amount of money that he's already making? So wouldn't there be additional whatever on top of he's making?
No, it's not an extension. His contract is up, right? They're not adding more money on top of money that he's already making, Chris. It's just it's a new contract.
Oh, okay. I can do one more thing and I'm done.
Yeah.
As a Titan fan, I'm kind of getting tired of we get these guys and the guys play good, and then we let them go, and then we go sign other people players for more money or the same amount of money. To me, that doesn't make sense. Eventually, you got to keep some of the guys that you made them what they are.
Well, yeah, but you've done that, Chris. You've done that. You've kept Taylor Lewan. You've kept Jarrell Casey. You've kept Kevin Byard. You've kept players that matter. Derrick Henry. I don't. I mean. Thanks for the call, Chris. Tough phone line. You didn't need to fade him back up. Look. Terrible phone line, Chris. That's the thing, because there's been a stigma around the Titans for a long time, right? Prior to Casey's extension, I think there was a general stigma around the Tennessee Titans that they were cheap. I mean, really going back to Haynesworth, right? Where that's probably the biggest contract dispute that they've had organizationally, where he went out and got the bag from the Washington football team that was not the football team at the time. But he was one of the biggest free agent signings, and then he did nothing with the money. He did nothing with the contract. He wasn't a productive player. He ended up having not good years in Washington, and he ended up I think he was a cap casualty, like a midseason cap casualty with New England at the end of his career when they added Ocho Cinco as well. So the idea that the Titans don't keep their best players, no, they have. They've just let their best players, problem being, their best players haven't been first-round picks. Conklin got a contract, a shorter-term deal, that paid him. I mean, Conklin as a right tackle was going to make $20 million on one of the 3 years of his deal. That was not going to be tenable. Jack Conklin was not a $20 million player. Jack Conklin, good player. Jack Conklin, fine for the 8th overall pick. Played some good football for you, fit the football team and the style of play and the culture, and has played good football for the Browns. But when you commit that kind of money to your right tackle, I mean, those are bad teams overpaying for decent to above average talent. Corey Davis was not a good enough player to keep. Adoree Jackson was not a good enough player to keep. Derrick Henry, Ryan Tannehill, Jarrell Casey, Taylor Lewan, Kevin Byard, all players with this organization, even though Tannehill wasn't drafted here, that earned their deals. The best players that earned their deals. Brett Kern is another one. They've consistently rewarded Kern for being the best punter in the league. Consistently. That's how he keeps surviving all these coaching tenures. Chuck is in Clarksville up next on 104.5 The Zone. Hello, Chuck.
Hey, Buck. I guess the two big things to look at is, A, do you think Weaver is Landry's replacement? Can he get to 6, 7, 8 sacks and make up some of that and be that player? If so, then I think you have to let Landry go and keep the money for other players. But is there any way on Landry to front load or back load his contract where he's only got $4 or $5 million coming out next year and the rest of his sign bonus, and it goes in 2 or 3 years and be $25 million or whatever?
Oh yeah, no. There's a million. The problem with doing salary cap radio is they can do anything they want, right? I mean, that's the Saints. The Saints are expected to be $70+ million over the cap this year, right? The Saints have completely that's probably what's driving Sean Payton into a year off and playing golf. He's like, I don't have a quarterback. I don't want to deal with this mess. This seems like a train wreck waiting to happen. Now that's the result of kicking the cap can down the road, right? You end up in a year in an offseason where it's going up $25 million, but you're 75 over anyway. So you can do in any given season, in any one season, you can basically do whatever you want. And like, for example, when you talk about backloading cap hits, that's what the Titans have done. Bud Dupree, so I've told you that he's going to have a cap hit of $19.2 million this coming season. Lucas, can you guess what Bud Dupree's cap hit was in 2021 when he signed the 5 years, $82.5 million contract with the Titans?
Oh, gosh. His cap hit this past season.
19.2 this year.
19.2 in 22?
In 22.
Okay. I'm going to say 15.
5.1. Right? So you can make the numbers do whatever you want them to do.
And he brings up Rashad Weaver. I feel like he kind of gets left out of the conversation to an extent when we talk about this. A depth piece at edge rusher who showed some flashes early before getting hurt on his rookie contract.
Preseason games.
Sure.
Toss it.
But toss it?
Toss it.
Rashad Weaver shouldn't factor in whatsoever to the discussion about pass rushing depth next season.
He should because he physically exists, but I don't know. I got nothing for you on a preseason
I still
game.
think that's a value pick in the 4th round that you didn't get to see much of in year 1 that could kind of...
I think you have no idea. I have no idea. No earthly idea.
Well,
I'm not saying that Rashad Weaver could be bad. I'm not saying that Rashad Weaver could be great. Like, I have no idea.
You have no idea mostly about Caleb Farley either, whether he's going to be a long-term solution at corner, but he factors into the discussion when you consider who to bring back at that position in 2022.
Of course. If they don't feel good enough about Caleb Farley, then Jackrabbit is no longer an easy cap casualty, right? I think I'm totally realistic about that. I'm not discounting Rashad Weaver or Caleb Farley other than my bit earlier to say, hey, your draft classes that you're not getting that production. You're not getting that instant impact. Weaver, Monty Rice, Caleb Farley, years previous, Isaiah Wilson, Darrington Evans. You're Cole McDonald, right? I mean, 6th-round quarterback, not the end of the world if he doesn't make it through training camp. Like, I'm not going to hit him over the head with Cole McDonald, even though that's what I just kind of did. I don't know why I did Cole McDonald. My bad, Cole. Great hair. Polls next. Final segment. Been a good show today. We are going to get into some more contract talk tomorrow. Former NFL agent Joe Corey's going to be here. Steve Lehman going to hang out in studio with us. Sports anchor for News Channel 5. Maybe we'll embrace. Steve's not really the embrace debate type, though. I'm trying to find my mad dog.
Oh, so you're Stephen A.
Well, I'm not Mad Dog. Am I? I'm not either of them.
Yeah, that's the upper echelon.
Can we get an update on that? Jimmy Traina tweeted it out. Can we get an update on how Mad Dog and Stephen A. Smith are doing First Take together? Because I don't even care what they could be talking about. They could be talking about curling on First Take today, and I wouldn't care. Let me hear some of the Stephen A. Mad Dog experience.
It was awful. That's your character. In a big game 7, that's the sort of thing you're dealing with. What's up with all the emotion? What's up with all the emotion? The character thing that you keep bringing up. I can bring up character stuff about GMs, coaches, owners. He's a player. And so he's not playing. So he's going to understand it. Yes, of course. He's making $40 million a year. But what? The point is that you get the assets for him.
All right, that's enough.
Nobody driving around listening to that has any idea what sport, team, or player they're talking about, but it couldn't matter less.
I like that you're just fading it down in the background. Like, I want that to just, is there a way to put First Take up on the board in there with you and to, like, on Wednesdays when Mad Dog's on with him, just like fade it up when we see Mad Dog losing his mind? Like, I think that's how we should do the show on Wednesdays.
Yeah, just have the TV feed.
Yeah.
Just bring it up whenever. I think we could make that happen.
I can't find a Mad Dog to my Stephen A. because I'm not Stephen A.
I think we could do that where we're having any sort of discussion, Titans related or whatever, and Mad Dog is speaking on my TV, and I have no idea what he's talking about. And we just say, Mad Dog, what do you think?
Just fade it up.
Pot him up. See what he says.
Say that to me.
I bet it would work sometimes.
Oh, no. I am almost certain because we have pulled the parts from Mad Dog, and this will give us more Mad Dog audio to use. We can use Mad Dog anytime we want. We could use the audio anytime we want with Mad Dog Chris Russo. This man is an artist. Give me the polls.
I don't know who you are, but I know what it's time for. A poll update on the Buck Reising Show. Here's a young man with a very particular set of skills. With the final numbers, here's Buck Reising Show correspondent and producer, Lucas Panzica.
Quick to the club.
Presented by Two Rivers Ford, powered by Ford, driven by people.
You're getting better at the transition on that, by the way.
What position will be most commonly mocked to the Titans this year? Tight end, offensive line, wide receiver, or inside linebacker? 38% say tight end, 26% receiver, 22% O-line, 14% ILB.
We're going to talk about that tomorrow because, Lucas, you told me Todd McShay had a ridiculous position being mocked to the Titans in his mock draft.
In my opinion, yes, it was ridiculous.
Beautiful. Embrace debate. We'll do it tomorrow. Gary Todd tweets us, Corey Curtis at News Channel 2 would happily Mad Dog you. I would love to have Corey in. We can have all of our friends in. It's the offseason, baby. There are no rules.
What's the biggest reason people are not watching the Olympics? China, time difference, summer over winter, or don't know how to find it? 41% say China.
I just like the heavy-handed China.
28% say the time difference. 25% say summer greater than winter. 6% just don't know where to find it.
I feel like we're doing something deeply unfair to the people of China. I feel like it should say Chinese government.
Chinese human rights issues. Yes,
I have zero issue. I love China. I've been to China.
Right.
We adopted my sister from China. It's a beautiful place with a rich history, a proud tradition, and incredible people. But their government is hot trash.
It is very controversial.
I'm not issuing an apology in Mandarin, by the way. I'm not John Cena. I will not do it.
Goody says if there was more curling coverage, everyone would be watching. Curling is fun, man.
How many more people are going to tag me in that guy that looks like Taylor Lewan? Like, I get it, all right? I get it. It's Taylor Lewan with long hair. Keep him moving.
Is Harold Landry worth $17 million per year? 61% say yes. Crazy Pellet says no. Sorry, too much money to put into one player when there's other needs.
Yeah, I disagree. I think the pass rush is important. I think the pass rush, keeping that together is the most important thing you can do right now. And, I mean, he's earned it. Like, pay that man his money.
Do you feel bad for the St. Louis Rams fans? 75% say no.
Wait, it's such a random poll.
I feel bad for him.
You started a full-on debate in my DM. Some dude has DM'd me passionately about the plight of the former St. Louis Rams fans.
I just think about the fans that grew up with it, maybe went to games with their dads. It was a huge part of their life, and the next thing you know, it's ripped away and it goes to L.A., and maybe they're celebrating this championship, but maybe not because they don't feel connected. Feel bad for those people.
Yeah, I don't care. I don't care about the St. Louis Rams fans. I'm sorry. It's in Los Angeles now. It's bigger. It's better. There's more money into it. More people care about it.
Is the Super Bowl a big deal to the city of L.A.? 79% push back against what you just said and say no.
Yeah, it's not. It's not. I was there for a week. You had no idea, basically, that the Super Bowl was going on that week.
That's
Whereas
my whole point.
If we did it here, life would stop.
That's my point about feeling bad for St. Louis fans. They cared. It was deep-rooted in the community. L.A. doesn't care. They have fans there, but it's the 10th, 12th, 13th most important thing going on.
But I don't know why one thing has to be true if
empathy, Buck, empathy.
No, that's not what we do. Not what I do. Those the polls?
Those are the polls.
All right, very good. That's the show. Fun one today. Check out the podcast if you missed any of it. Primetime tonight's going to be fun. We'll talk more about the Titans contract situation. 8 p.m. Central Time. Blaine and Mickey got you covered because they're coming up next.